Guys, need to make sure that I am watching this myself in YouTube. Have I gone live? All right. Hey Hexicans, how are you today? Price is 44 cents. We recently seen a high of 50 or maybe even 51, maybe even higher than that, I don't know. But life is good. I'm feeling a lot of energy. I did have some downer days recently, right before the full moon. And then once the full moon hit, I believe that I've been feeling pretty good ever since. Got some work clothes on right now. I'm drying some sweat while we're doing this live stream because I've been helping my father cut some limbs away from his roof. And so my mother, tells him, hey, get out there and do that. And then if the work's too hard, he'll enlist me to help him. And so my dad and I climb up on the roof. And every time we climb up on the roof, I think, like, why don't we have some sort of a ladder that's permanently attached to the house so we can get on and off the roof so much easier? Why is it that this whole house was designed without the accessibility to the roof? You would need an extra material, an extra tool. And so I think about like how you couldn't get like a child to climb up on the roof and do this work unless you really trusted him. I remember when I was a kid, I would mow my grandparents' lawn, and my grandmother would keep asking me like every 20 minutes, little Davin, don't you want to come inside and take a break? Have a soda? Have a Coke? Down here in the South, it's Coke, and well, I drank Dr. Pepper when I was a kid. I'm glad I kicked that. If you guys are drinking sodas, you guys need to stop drinking the sodas. Search for things that are better. Ease yourself off of things that you think that you need. Ease yourself off of. Anyway, I'm just laughing about how as a kid we were often reminded that things were dangerous and to watch out for this, watch out for that, while it wasn't. We were doing things that were too dangerous for the adults to do. And I'm thinking about how, like, we could redesign our cities so that our youth are able to be productive in maintaining our built environment instead of everything being a hazard, So I think to my time up in Montana over at Paul Wheaton's place, where the houses, they're in the ground. So like, if you have to clean stuff off of the top, you're only worried about the edge where there's a 12-foot drop or something like that. And so you could fence that off like Mike Ayler did up in Idaho. He fenced off a certain top part of his roof so that the deer wouldn't get close to it and jump off of it and break a leg, and then he'd have to deal with the deer instead of the deer taking care of themselves. So I've been making some notes throughout this week, and what I just described is kind of along the same lines of what I was witnessing out at Starbucks. So at my local Starbucks, they what Starbucks is doing in Texas right now is they're going into I'm witnessing this firsthand. They're going into parking lots that have been dead a little bit, shopping centers that have been sort of dead, and they're reviving the shopping center a bit. And they're taking some of the parking space in the middle of the shopping center, and they're building their very small, efficient structure in the middle of this parking lot. And the very small, efficient structure has a countertop along one full side of it, with the drive-through lining up with that countertop on the outside of it, and then a dining room along the other side of that countertop, and then a little outdoor space along that dining room space, and then the bathrooms here on the end of the dining room, and then the back office area, the back unseen area, behind, in line with that countertop that's all closed off back there, so you can't see anything that's going on. This is efficient architecture. You ready to come on, Hexray? Cool, I'm gonna bring you up. I was just starting to describe, or I just described, Starbucks and these efficient structures for commercial space that they're creating. And I wonder if we can start going down towards prototypes of architecture. I wonder if this is the way things are going, to where structures in the past are so inefficient with their space, based on where the world is going, that we could end up demolishing a lot of these old structures and making more efficient structures. I wonder if we're at a pivotal point, and maybe every time we have an economic squeeze, we'll have this birth, or this birth of a new idea, or this push forward in architecture. Anyway, that's just a random sort of thought that I got a lot of feedback, man.
Letha's down 3.4.
Thank you. So one of my buddies, one of my childhood friends here, he's gonna join our stream for the first time. I'm so excited to bring this guy on. Are you ready, Roland? All right, Roland from Texas. Glad to have you.
Thanks. How's this going?
Good. You can speak a little louder.
Okay.
I turned my gain down a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah, that's really good.
Because I was hearing it was like ASMR on my end too. So I was trying to turn down all this background noise.
So how am I?
You sound great. I don't hear much feedback or anything behind you.
Cool. Hey, Hexray, since I have you on, so I'm sitting there at Starbucks, and this is where these ideas have come, because I'll get my coffee and I'll just sit outside. And actually, I was doing timestamps for that awesome video that Dragon did. If anybody hasn't seen the video that Dragon did with Kevin from RAD, which is an organization that Mark Shepard is heading up, I believe. Kevin works with him there, and Dragon did a video with Kevin talking to him about HEX and onboarding farmers and stuff. it was really cool. I did the timestamps for it, so if anybody goes and reads through these timestamps and sees something they like, I really do promote watching that video. Maybe I'll bring it up here in a little bit. But since I have you on, HEXray, who to follow on Twitter? Do you follow people who have liked something you disagree with? Do you unfollow them? What if they are Hexicans? Like I'm finding that, like, is Twitter knocking people off of my follow list? Is there a 1,000 follower limit on Twitter? Because it seems like all these Hexicans that I've already followed are re-arriving as suggestions for me to follow. Do you know that?
I've found some accounts show up that I'm pretty sure I've never subscribed to or followed. People just show up, and I'm like, that's weird. And I'll go back and look at their profile. They have nothing in common with me. They have nothing to do with Hex. They're just there, and I'm following them, and I'm like, I've never followed that person. So I've actually been added to people without me doing it.
See, I'm finding the exact opposite. Like I'm clicking follow the same people like week after week. I'm like, I thought I already followed them, because it's not that somebody else liked their thing. It came to my attention, and that's where I remember their logo from. Instead, it's like literally, Twitter is unfollowing me. But what I'm getting at is, like, if somebody says something that you disagree with and they're a Hexican, do you unfollow them?
No, I just mute them.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
still
right.
following them. I'm still friends with them. But if they fill my entire feed with political stuff or something like that, or maybe they're just really crazy about a sports team, then I'll just mute them, but I'll keep them as a follow.
Cool.
Devin, is that why you got Twitter? Is to follow along with Hexicans and everything?
I wanted to be a part of the army.
See, that's what
in the social media sphere that the Hexicans are in, because the creator of Hex, Richard Hart, he's active on Twitter, and cryptocurrency people are active on Twitter. So Richard Hart brings the fight to them, and then we show up and we support all the Hex activity and all the Pulse activity, and it's instantaneous, and it's
you
really.
said the other day that Twitter would be, the latest information on Pulse. You just watch that.
Well, personally, I think what needs to happen is everybody needs to go to Telegram, and they need to follow Richard's Calls on Telegram. That's a Telegram channel, Richard's Calls. And that way it's straight from the creator's mouth, because there's going to be scams all over the place. There's going to be links for you to click and stuff, and just don't click anything. Just go straight to that guy's postings on the Telegram, and then he'll have you, like, if it is that something is happening, like a movement, like a release of some sort, then he'll go live on his YouTube channel, and you can see it come straight out of his mouth, his instructions. And then the community starts to talk about these things and make like written guides and things like that, so we can figure out how to maneuver through stuff. Because whenever it is that Pulse Chain is released, then we're going to want to know, how do we maneuver on Pulse Chain?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all a learning situation that's going to happen here in the future. Of course, it's going to be a lot similar to how we maneuver on ETH.
Yeah. I still have a lot to learn, because I've only had one interaction, man, by stake, and that was it.
Yeah, and I
trying to onboard people. You asked me. I haven't been successful, but my brother is gonna have $2,500 ready for Pulse launch. So he's excited. I've shared with him a lot of the testimonials from the Hexicans, and he knows what's up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I actually just joined Twitter just for Hex. I had never been on Twitter or on Telegram before Hex. So that's why I joined those two, is for Hex updates and to talk to other Hexicans.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for it because that's what I want it for. It's for Hex, and then maybe like some CEOs or something companies that I might invest in or am invested in. But I think Twitter is not good for the world.
Yeah, Twitter is a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It is garbage, especially crypto Twitter, because when you talk to the other people in crypto that aren't in Hex, it's just a lot of like flame wars and like moon boy talk. It's very, very, it's like a bunch of degenerate gamblers, honestly. And then of course salesmen trying to sell their course for trading or whatever. So that's why I stick to just the Hexicans there, and then on Telegram as well. But Telegram works with like a small group of people, maybe 30 or below, but over 30, Telegram just has so much noise, I find.
Welcome, Dragon.
Hey, y'all. How's everybody doing?
Really good.
Sorry for being late.
No, it's great, man. Great interview the other day.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We'll be able to get Mark Shepard on in the near future, I imagine. I'm going to onboard their entire team live, so it'll be really cool.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And just in case you want to run the Hex Foodie stream, you saw my note about how I gave you the password.
Yep.
And so,
thank you very much.
Okay, cool. So that everybody knows, you're one of 4 people who have the password to the Hex Foodies YouTube. And I wanted to ask Roland. So, I asked you to get into Telegram chat, and you joined the Pulse Chain Telegram chat, and I asked you to like check out the voice portion of the chat, and you said that it was over your head. So like, is there a place in between maybe that like is there? I wonder if there's a way that we can get you to start speaking the jargon and understand what it is that people are saying inside the Pulse Telegram chat.
Well, I guess that's up to me, and it hasn't been until the last 2 weeks that I've really gotten into, like I took your word on it. I had staked and I'm happy with everything. And it wasn't until recently that I really, making efforts to understand the whole game. So, but yeah, they're on Telegram, the Pulse Chains chat is super helpful. I sit and just listen to that, in the background. And yeah, that's helpful.
Cool. Yeah, man. With the way that the price has been so strong lately, some of the things that they've been saying in the Pulse Telegram chat have been amazing forethoughts on where we're going. And I'm not talking about just price predictions. Like how like Ethereum could be kind of like leaving Hex on Ethereum could be like a doormat to get people over to understanding Pulse Chain and our Hex on Pulse Chain. Really exciting.
And a few weeks ago, I thought that Hex would bring people over to Pulse Chain, but like you said, it's definitely a lot of people looking at Pulse and then learning about Hex, which is really exciting. Like being new to Hex, I can even feel it, like a lot of people are starting to get excited about it.
Now, Without exposing too much, can you tell us about your stakes?
Just 1 2-year stake,
Okay.
and my first experience was not cool because I bought some ETH, and then before the funds settled, it got slashed by like 40%. And then so I didn't have as much as I wanted. And then I waited around when it was like 4 cents. And then I ended up getting in at 9 cents, because finally you were like, just stop waiting. Anything is good, just get in. And so, yeah, it's like 5X is fun. It's not going to change my life or anything. So, but I'm really excited to make some more stakes on the pulse chain and go pretty heavy in pulse PLS.
So what I've been telling people lately, like people that we went to high school with, I've been telling them put a stake out for 5555, and then install the Staker app, which I got you to do. Install the Staker app and put in your address and watch your portfolio. And then because you've already got money involved in it, then your attention's assigned to it. You owe it to yourself to pay attention to where it is that you put your money. And then those people will self-learn. And so I can't wait for you to get a 5555.
Yeah.
I'd like to add on to that. I think that 5555 is the first stake everybody should do for a lot of reasons. One is you said something, you're like, a 5X isn't going to change my life. Like, if you'd put in $200,000 or $500,000, a 5X would absolutely change your life.
Yeah.
And that's so much money. Like, if you look at the stock market, if you were in a stock that earned 30%, that's life-changing for people. 30% interest in a year. Like, so what I see a lot of, and I'm going to do some streams on this, is a lot of people don't understand finance. I don't mean any offense by that, but they don't understand money. They don't understand where this comes from, and they don't have any plans. So people need to think about, what are your goals? Why should you be rich? Why do you need this money? And people want instant gratification. Hex is not about instant gratification. It is about delayed gratification. So starting with a 15-year stake gives you a timeline to figure out some of that stuff. And as you start thinking about it, you realize also, okay, I'm kind of getting this now. And then you start building your stake ladder in reverse. You don't start with 1 year. You start with 15 years, and then you do a 14-year stake and then a 13-year stake. And eventually your timeline will match. And now you're at a point, but also after 1 year, you do another 5555 or another 6 months or whatever. My average stake time right now is 10 years. I have a lot of 15-year stakes, and I'm about to make another one. So what'll happen is by putting it out there, you're maximizing what you're going to get in the future, and eventually your timelines will match up, and now you are getting paid every whatever interval you set yourself up for. But also and I said this in my talk with Kevin, was that when you have a 555, you're now a Hexican in my mind. You're not a Hexican until you have that, because what Hexray was just talking about, I think, about some of the toxic and behavior that we see in the crypto space. People like talking up a coin like Elon Musk and then shitting in that coin right afterwards. You don't do that when you have a 15-year stake. Yeah. So it changes the mindset and gets you thinking differently. And I think it builds a healthier community and healthier people. And you can trust people more. If you're recommending Hex and you have a 15-year stake, I believe you. If you don't have any stakes and you're recommending Hex, I don't know why you're in Hex.
Yeah, totally. I think my average is a little bit above 10 years. However, I need to start filling in the middle of my ladder. And I have the liquid Hex to do it. I just haven't been doing it. I don't know why.
Did you see my bit? I was really surprised. I did some math on my last stream, and the T-share price, not the price in dollars, but in Hex, went up 20% in 30 days. That's
I
insane.
remember you saying that. Yeah.
Like, that's so significant. I'm like freaking out a little bit. I'm like, because that's just, it's hard to keep up with. That's the point, is that there's never going to be a better time to do a 5555 than right now. Never.
You guys want to?
And herds.
Yeah, the clock is ticking.
Yeah. And that's why he's doing the 5555 every year, because he's preserving his T-shares.
Well, you can't even preserve a T-shirt doing it yearly, because if you look at 20% a month compounded, you're not preserving. Well, maybe you are. I'm not sure, because we're looking at like a 40% per year to keep up with a 20% per month. I don't know how that's going to happen.
Preserving your honor.
Just doing your best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say a T-share would cost like $2,600? Something I heard last night.
I think they're over like 7,000 now. I can tell you.
So what you're doing is,
no, they're about $10,000 right now for a T-shirt.
Oh shit. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, measuring T-shares in dollars will wreck you mentally, because like a year and a half ago, we were getting them for 60 cents. 60 cents US was getting you 1 trillion shares, and now some days it's $8,000 or $9,000 depending on the price.
Mhm.
So it's that, and that's part of setting up the 15 years the first, because if you set up the 15 year at the first, I always point out to people the T-shares that they're getting. I say, look at these T-shares that you're getting for 15. And then later when we go back and fill it in backwards, I'll point out, see how few T-shares you're getting for the same money or more money. And it kind of clicks. And then when they download the Staker app, they see the interest being dumped, like growing huge on the 15-year stake, and the 1-year stake's growing in interest, but not half as quickly as the 15-year. They see that snowball just growing at an exponential rate, and it really changes their psychology about delayed gratification. It actually gives you a little boost of dopamine by delaying gratification, which is completely opposite of the way most of us are wired.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, just like rolling.
Compounding, it's the greatest thing ever invented, right?
The last time I looked
Financial
at
asset,
the
I would say
T-shirt,
yes.
the last time I looked at the T-shirt chart, it literally was approaching 3,000, and I think Richard said it in a live stream at that point. So I was like rolling, thinking it was only like 2,800.
No, it's going insane.
It's about 8,500 right now.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's the thing is, someone was saying on a stream the other day that they were tracking someone that was doing taking a big $9 billion club of HEX and ratcheting up the T-shirt with 9 billion HEX, meaning they were staking and unstaking over and over with this pile of 9 billion and just ratcheting up the T-shirt price. Like single-handedly, they were like doing some serious movement, which that's the part that kills me. Is on day one, you could get 1 trillion shares for 10,000 HEX, and now we're getting close to 19,000 for the same T-share. So when it hits 30,000, you will get the same number of T-shares that you got on day one, but you have to stake. So you have to stake for 10 years to get the same deal you did on day one, staking for 1 day. So you're forced to go further and further and further out if you're chasing the shares, which is, once you understand the whole system, you're like, oh gosh, I've got to get every share I can get my hands on, because what are they going to be a year from now? What are they going to cost a year from now? They're going to be out of everyone's price range that I hang out with.
kind of, it's it's weird what's happening also. So yes, there are people intentionally ratcheting up the price. I've observed that as well, or the T-shirt rate, and that's benefiting the early people got in early. But those people will eventually cash out. Now, some of those people have 15-year stakes, so that's a long wait period, but they're earning crazy amount of HEX right now. like over 100% APR. I think I've seen some at like 120% or 160% even.
That's nutty.
Yeah,
really high APR for them. But
it depends on your length though. So the average length is in between 5 and 6 years.
I'm
So
saying
between so on your 15 year, it's about 60% APY, which means your hex would double every 1.2 years, according to the law of 72.
Yeah, so it is 60% APR, but if they hit the big payday, it's double. So yeah,
Davin told me about it like 2 weeks before the big payday. I didn't move on it.
What were you paying attention to? That Robinhood app?
No, Weeble.
Weeble.
At the same time, my brother approached me about the stock market, and I had my brother here and Davin here, and I was like, stock market.
Some people are really late to the game, like so late they haven't even came yet.
Yeah.
So the stock market, hopefully it'll crash and go away. It's the old paradigm of crypto, small gains.
Well, I'm trying to get everyone in before Pulse launch, because that is basically another big payday, because you're doubling your coins, you're doubling your tokens, which who knows what impact that's going to have a few years from now financially.
It should be huge, and most people don't understand at all what's going to happen with Hex on Pulse. And I've been trying to get as many people as I can. Hex on Pulse is de facto going to be worth more than Hex on Ethereum immediately, not eventually, immediately. And the reason is T-shares. People don't remember that. I mean, Hex is linked to the T-share price, right? So we have people ratcheting up the T-share price right now using some game mechanics. But we have thousands and thousands and thousands of stakes that are burning right now because the fees are too high to unstake them. When PHEX launches, every one of those stakes will come up, and that will ratchet the price up immediately. You will never see, except for maybe day one, the price being below EHEX, because it's actually mathematically worth more. So if you can buy PHEX for less than that EHEX price, do it, because it's a steal.
Well, see, that's something I didn't even think about. Was I knew that the prices were going to fluctuate between the two, but I didn't even consider till just this moment that the T-share rate is going to fluctuate between the two. That's insane.
That's going to be what is going to be a really cool mechanic, because now you have PX up here. Well, which do you buy? Which Hex do you buy? The cheaper one? When you understand T-shares, yes, the cheaper one is the one you buy, because you're getting a better T-share deal. It's not based on the speculation. And what the problem which was created in the past was that people staked small, and that made it so they couldn't unstake. But we know that now. People aren't staking small anymore. So that problem has been corrected on Ethereum. Also, Ethereum is switching to proof of stake. So the unstaking price will reduce. So Hex is going to be valuable on both chains. And it's just going to be a competition in the ratcheting of the price. But it's going to be self-balancing if people understand that, because you're always going to choose to buy the cheaper T-share, because that's what really matters.
Right. Well, and here's something I only share with my closest friends, because it's all fan fiction and it's all hype. Like, this may not happen at all. So don't tell anyone that I told you guys this. But
you're alive, by the way.
Yeah. So anyways, my prediction is that ETH is going to have to fork when they do 2.0. I don't think they're going to be able to make that transition at all. So if ETH forks on 2.0, that means that you're going to have a second set of Hex and stakes on the other Ethereum. And here's another thing. If Pulse Chain ever gets to the point where it fills up and slows down, it might just be easier to fork Pulse Chain again to keep up with the demand. So now you're looking at 4 sets of Hex for your one set right now. And like I said, that's Moon Boy talk, and that's completely speculative, but it's very possible in the world of crypto. I mean, airdrops and forks happen all the time.
I think we're going to see more of it. I think that's a really good point. I would like to debate a little bit on pulsechain forking again, because one, right now I see it being totally possible, but I believe that Richard has a lot of plans for scaling, and ETH 2.0 also a lot of scaling. But right now, I don't see any technologies able to scale the blockchain to the human population. And so we have a lot of technological improvements. And the question is what's the most sustainable way to scale? Duplicating the network really feels unsustainable. Having 50 hexes out there, it's going to get dumb. I don't know, that doesn't feel right. So I think we're gonna have to figure out another way to like bridge currencies or stuff, or tie things together, because if people just start duplicating everything, doing these massive airdrops all the time, it's gonna get really weird.
Yeah, let's give a shout out real quick to your Hexcellence. It says Twitter got them here, so thanks for checking us out from Twitter. And they're contributing. They say the t-shirt rate will spike up faster on Pulse Chain. Like you were saying, think about the bleeding stakes. So they're thinking parallel to you when it comes to the t-shirt rate being different there.
Yeah, 100% excellence. You're absolutely right on that one. So I'm just curious what happens right afterwards. I think what my guess is that we're going to see EHEX dip right after launch. People are going to sell off of it, thinking that PHEX is better, because we're going to see the PHEX price go up. So we're going to have people fighting out of EHEX, but the FUD won't be too big because people are staked, which is pretty smart. So there will be a buying opportunity.
When they get fudded out, we'll get all those EES penalties like yesterday. Holy Moses, yesterday was so delicious.
What was the final count? It was 10.
It was like 10.035 or 4 if you want to round up. Was the hex per t-share?
Dragon, someone liquidated their
I love the look on his face.
I think it was about 90 million hex, and they only got 20 mil back.
Yeah, that was a spike yesterday. It was 5 million hex, give or take, hitting the market that did that spike. I tried to buy that dip, and it was less than 5 minutes from my buy zone.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, you got a boatload of hex yesterday.
Wow, I gotta look at my main account.
So someone mentioned that in the Pulse Chain live chat the other day, voice chat, and they also mentioned the Ethereum 2.0 possibility of having duplicates on that chain. So Roland, that's something to think about, because we've talked about this before. Is like, are you going to be bullish because you have small amount of hex holdings? Are you going to be more bullish on PHEX than you were on EHEX whenever PHEX comes out? And what will be the value of your EHEX left on the Ethereum? Well, HEXDragon just mentioned the possibility of Ethereum 2.0 coming out, and then you would have duplicates of whatever you left on the Ethereum.
Yeah. I think anybody who sells their hex is going to be sad. By the way, I was late because I had a friend who I've made over $2 million for, and he was calling me. He's like, I think I need to unstake and cash out. And I'm like, all right. So by the way, I consult with people and I get them in crypto. And one of the things I do is I help plan your vision. Why? I said this to Roland already. Why should you be rich? What are you going to do with this wealth? What are you working towards? And then I figure out, just like the staking ladder, an unstaking plan for how we're going to achieve all your dreams, and what the most efficient way of doing that is. So I had that conversation with him and prevented him from purchasing a stake because he didn't have a plan yet. He's like, $2 million is a lot, but also it's not a lot. You can burn through that real fast. And I've decided to take this on myself, that I am going to trash talk every single person I see who buys a Lambo. I think you're an idiot if you buy a Lamborghini. And here's why. You're selling the fastest appreciating asset in history to buy the fastest depreciating asset in history. Like, it's insulting to the community. It shows that you don't really understand investing. You just got lucky, and it's all about ego. Having a Lambo that's in your garage is just for your ego to show to your boys. But also, people don't understand where money comes from. Hex is a community of people, and you have people buying in here, and there's money that comes in. And when you have people who take out money and use on stupid stuff, it's an insult.
Yeah.
It's like resources, or resources are common heritage. Now, with capitalism, people don't think of things as being common; they think of them as just being theirs. But the reality is that everything is common heritage. So when we have forests and stuff, just because somebody owns that forest and they cut it down and they change the entire microclimate of that region, yeah, that was their right to do that, but that doesn't mean it was the right thing to do. So I would like to bring consciousness to Hex, to understand, like, why are we spending our Hex? What are we spending it on? Are we making improvements to the world, to society, even to our own life? Or are we just fulfilling our ego? Because buying a Lambo is just for your ego. Like, and maybe you'll get laid a little bit more, but probably not.
And it'll
Yeah.
be a sad lay too.
I want to give a little bit of pushback to that, because I think you got to balance things with freedom, right? Because if someone's not free to make a bad choice, then we can't learn from that bad choice.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, someone can restake and restake and restake. Someone can start a children's hospital, and then someone can buy a Lambo, right? Like, it's just a tool. Money's a tool, right? And I agree with what you're saying about it's their right, but it may not be the right thing to do. But yeah, I think that this is all about freedom, just like Hex Foodies is all about food sovereignty, right? So if someone wants to grow something crazy in their backyard that doesn't actually help them, you know, if someone could grow Twinkies, someone might be out there growing Twinkies.
Yeah.
It's you've got to give them that freedom. Right?
I agree with you fully on that. We all should have a level of freedom, but also we need to have responsibility and knowledge. So the same concept, like, let's go buy the rainforest and burn it down, because that'd be a really epic Burning Man event. Like, let's burn down the rainforest. Like, yeah, you can do that, but is that really like a socially responsible thing to do? And yes, it's your choice. Everything, we all have freedom. We can choose to buy guns or bombs and do horrible things with those too. So it's different levels of destruction. So what I would like to bring is this understanding of, like, is this something that's highly extractive and maybe destructive in some ways, or is it actually, like, beneficial? Because right now we are coming from our previous generations, like our parents, mostly the baby boomers, very much so, very narcissistic, very egocentric, very focused on themselves, and exploited the environment and left us with a lot of trash to clean up. So I want to bring awareness to people who continue making those decisions. Like, look, you're making a mess for the next generation. Hex is a way to actually create a lot of abundance for the future, but it is still a currency and can be used for destruction. And while buying a Lambo might seem harmless, what about when people start buying, like, I mean, you could fund terrorist organizations also. Like, these different things can happen, and we don't realize how sometimes our actions affect different groups. But also, when you have somebody buying like a $2.5 million Lambo, that dips the price, and that might prevent good projects from happening. And that's what I mean by there's a pool here that we extract from. And if people are just buying it for themselves, like, that's fine. We all understand that they can do that when they enter Hex. But to have the consciousness, that awareness that if I take these resources out, I am preventing somebody else from taking out some resources, because we can't all take out everything. There's not actually that much money there right now. Yeah. So maybe you don't need to have the most expensive Lambo. Like, even Richard didn't get the most expensive one. And he does a really good job talking about, like, invest in stuff that's going to keep going up in value. The good news is that all the Lambo buyers, they'll be broke. Like, they'll run out of Hex eventually. They won't be a part of that community anymore, because everybody who's making these impulsive short-term decisions, they're selling the growth that will exist and remain moving forward. So that's okay. It's it's a self-filtering system, just like the people who were in Bitcoin early who got out to buy their Lambos then, like they're no longer playing that game anymore. And I just want to bring awareness that maybe the best thing to do with your money isn't buying a Lambo, because I see a lot of pressure in the Hex community to encourage people to buy Lambos. And I think that's a really stupid thing to waste your money on.
Well, I see a lot of people talking about they're going to retire, or, oh, thanks, Richard, I'm retired now. I'm thinking, you know, I'm not one of those, but like, just keep playing the game, you know, just don't sit back and sell everything. And, you know, I would, once I get to those numbers, I'm going to stay in, you know, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm good now, you know, done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mentality about like, why are in the like long-term vision, like, are we thinking about Hex replacing fiat and what that would look like? Are we I'm just gonna ramble, so I'll let somebody else jump in.
No, I really appreciate what you said about responsibility, because freedom and responsibility go hand in hand, and there's not a lot of responsibility and not a lot of consequences in today's actions, or immediate consequences, especially if you're part of the rich or quote unquote ruling class. You don't have the same consequences and responsibilities as the people that are lower on the rung of power or money, right? And so Hex brings this awesome consequence, this truth machine to our lives, where you've got to stick to your word or there's serious consequences. The game theory in it enforces responsibility, enforces, consequences to our actions. So I really appreciate that about that. And then I just want to touch on being retired really quick. I retired a few months ago from truck driving, and I felt like the service that I was given to the world as delivering whatever I was delivering to the truck was way lower than onboarding people that I'm doing right now. So I'm onboarding 7 to 10 people or couples a week, and I feel like I'm finally having a positive, impact on the world. Where as a trucker, okay, something got there on time, but if I didn't do it, there would be someone else that would deliver it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like turning into this, like trying to figure out what I'm going to do in this next chapter of my life, as far as my time and effort.
I think that's really well said, and I don't consider you retired. You're still working. You found a better way to contribute to society, and that's what Hex can do. Is when you have financial freedom, you're no longer forced to be a slave. You aren't forced to sell your labor for income. You can choose how you contribute. And a lot of my friends are going from working full time at a job they have that it was their passion, but they don't like it because it's corporate, to changing it to being more heart-centered. One of my friends is a veterinarian. So he is going to offer basically scalable plans for people, but also having his hours and not work for Banfield anymore. Myself, I'm helping get people in here. I've been a life coach, and I'm helping people understand what their purpose is and how, with Hex, with financial freedom, they can start living their purpose and because a lot of people want to give back to the world. And that's what, if we just take the time to think about, we go through the unschooling process that we've mentioned before, and you realize what your purpose is. How do you want to give to society? You're going to realize that, I really shouldn't have bought that Lambo. I could have created a healing center or a Taekwondo gym or something really cool that keeps on giving. And I suspect that the people who are just buying stupid, expensive stuff, they have no purpose. They're still hollow inside. They are trying to fulfill that with consumerism, which we know doesn't really work. So it doesn't matter how nice your car is, whether it's a Tesla, a Lambo. It doesn't matter how nice your watch is. Those things rarely matter, especially in relationships. Like, I choose not to wear anything on my wrists because I don't want people to like me based on items. Those aren't the kind of friends I want to have. So I don't have any indicator that I have any money, except for the fact that I'm a very healthy person.
With your life coaching, you do give a discount if people pay in Hex, I'm guessing.
So the way it works now actually is I create a program with them, which is about a year, and we do a small profit share. So I don't charge anything for my service, but I coach them for a year and profit share with them.
So if you help improve their life, both physically and financially, emotionally, then they share some of that increase that they made versus before they had your help and insights.
Exactly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a really good win-win situation, and it doesn't cost them anything to work with me initially, but they have to have a small investment, obviously.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Yozo. Yozo's been out there in the chat blowing it up, and you can see it on the screen right now. But she said those t-shirts were a godsend, and it's about sharing. It's no longer about the money. It sounds like that they want to give back.
Yozo was saying that the person doesn't know exactly what they're going to do for the community, but they know that they're going to give until they find out exactly where it is that they will be most useful.
Yeah, well, and it's a huge paradigm shift to go from scarcity mentality, which if you're an employee, there's only so many hours that you can give. There's only so many clients or customers you can serve in so many hours. So and you're only going to make so much money. So that's a scarcity mentality. And then with interest showing up every day, way more interest than you need, then you get that abundant mentality. And it takes people sometimes a year to switch gears, to decompress, to start entertaining the possibilities of the things that you can do now that you have more time and more money to share, more resources.
Two quick questions. One is, how is my audio for y'all?
It's good.
It's good.
Good.
Okay, cool. Second, this is for, I think it was Yoza. Your name disappeared, so I apologize if I got that wrong. But all of you too, Yoza, is if you're relatively close to Austin, we have a workshop coming up October 15th through 17th. It's called Sexual Empowerment, but this is where you find your life purpose and where your values, and you learn how to manifest. It is so fun. It's a life-changing event. Any Hexican who reaches out to me, I'll give you a $200 discount. It's not mine. I'm not getting any of the money from this, but it's a life-changing event. And I'd love to invite X-Ray Vision, Roland, and Davin to this. And I can get you guys $200 off right now. The cost is, and it's going to be so fun. It should be just like a great community building event.
So I already know that I'm going to be in a wedding, but anybody can stay at my house, and it's within 40 minutes, I guarantee, of this event.
I would encourage anybody who can go to Hex Dragon's event to pick it up and go there. I'm sure you're going to learn something well worth your time and your money of getting there for sure. I'm actually hosting the Salt Lake City event for the Hex tour on that Saturday. So October Saturday the 16th, if anyone is within driving distance of Salt Lake, we have a beautiful venue secured, and I'm really excited to party with the Germans. And I'm going to try my hardest to reach out to all the freedom-loving communities in Salt Lake, like, you know, the investors, the voluntarists, the food growers, the cannabis advocates. I'm going to try to reach out to all those communities. I'd love to get 200 people that don't know anything about Hex into that room, because this is, I think this tour is going to turn into an annual regional event, is what I'm guessing.
I think so too. It's so beautiful. I love what they're doing. I love, like, they are people who are using their wealth for really good things. I love seeing that. There are so many amazing people in the Hex community. I mostly see amazing people, but I also see some old paradigm stuff.
Yeah, but back to your plug, Hex Dragon. I've been spending time, you know, Burning Man festivals and some tantra groups of my own, and trying to figure out all this stuff and when you're spending all your time chasing money, you don't have any time for shadow work or inner work, or just getting to know who you are and figuring out how you got to where you got from a kid to an adult. And so I find that stuff very, very valuable, and I'm focusing a lot of my time on reading and learning about the inner workings of, you know, what makes us tick, what our purpose here is, you know, how to love yourself and in turn love other people and connect with them. So I think that's awesome work.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we all share one purpose, but then we also have our own unique purpose. When we share is we're stewards of Earth. Every one of us, that's been our common heritage, is to steward this planet for the next generation.
Are you going to the Rainbow Gathering next year?
I'm considering it. I've been invited.
I met a rainbow homie up there at Burning Man and got the invitation to get the yellow invitation. Am I saying too much? I don't know. The rainbow people are going to show up at my house. They show up and make me disappear. No, but the Rainbow Gathering next year is in the state of Colorado, which is all, you know, at least in our region. And I really want to go because it's going to be on the 4th of July. You know, it's all about peace. But you were just mentioning Stewards of Earth, and I thought, oh, yeah, that'd be a really interesting event to go to.
I think so too. I haven't been to that yet. Another note, I'm going to be going to Costa Rica soon, probably November, looking at acquiring land there for a lot of different reasons. I've set up a group land buy and a land trust, so I have a lot of people who are invested in that. But if that appeals to anybody out here, they want to kind of do some traveling and check out Costa Rica.
What time of the month in November are you thinking? Beginning?
I don't have a date set yet. I applied for my passport a little over a week ago, expedited, so I have between 4 to 11 weeks until I get my passport. When I do, I'll get my ticket and go. So
what avenues should people communicate with you for all the events, for the other stuff? And then also, Roland, are you on a time crunch right now? You on lunch break?
No, I'm at the library.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's keep rolling.
Yeah, should we contact you through Twitter or Telegram? DM you?
Twitter, Telegram are both good. I'm trying to think. So if you don't know me, I have that filtered out, so Telegram won't work. If in the Hex Foodies group, you can like tag me and say I want to DM you, and I'll add you. Otherwise, I am HexDragon5555 on Twitter, and you can message me there. Also, if you watch my video, you can message me on YouTube. I'll get that.
You're normally not posting anything on Twitter, right? You're just using it as a communication thing. Because I just recently looked at some of your Twitter stuff and like your profound statements back in 2014. Great.
Yeah, that's when I stopped using it, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I said. That was a little bit ago.
Oh, you just said like good thoughts and no one gave you any likes. So I went in there, bop, 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 likes.
Thank you.
Yozo, add another comment here.
Yeah, Vipassanas are an excellent, I think they're like a good stepping stone into Tantra. Do you all know who Ken Wilber is?
No.
You might want to define Vipassana for those that don't know what that is.
I believe it's a 10-day meditation, or basically where you do a group meditation. You go to a temple and you don't talk for about 10 days. There's often lessons that happen during that time. Yeah, I hear things get really crazy on day 3. I've only done a 3-day, but anyway, Ken Wilber has a new book out that I just got. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's one of my Tantra teachers recommended it, and he thinks that Tantra is the most advanced religion in the world right now, and the most advanced practice. So he is somebody who discusses consciousness. I think everybody who I've introduced him to has been really appreciative. I'd recommend starting with his book, A Brief History of Everything. And it literally like helps you understand how our universe works and how you work and how our relationships work and like how everything is all connected. So it gives you this like complete system perspective and a really, really life-changing information in there.
And that's Ken Wilber, not Bill Bryson.
Right. Yeah, they're using his title to kind of like clickbait you.
I don't know what
I
I'm
want
doing.
to search for
Lost.
Ken Wilber in that.
Ken Wilber.
And the audiobook would not be on YouTube. So.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. And he definitely, yeah. I don't even know if there is an audiobook for A Brief History of Everything. Yeah, there he is. So he explains like integral and it's a lot of advanced stuff. I can talk on hours about it. And a lot of my work that I publish is based on integral theory as well.
The YouTubes can give everybody some ideas where to go next in your life. Just fill your life full of opportunities or variables, and select one, go down that path. Just keep moving. Just keep trying things.
Something may have selected me this morning. Brooke,
his wife.
Yeah, she took an at-home pregnancy test and it was positive this morning. So we scheduled a blood test and everything. So
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. I
Happy
wanted
to
to kind
alive.
of keep it close to the chest and not say anything, but there it is. Just a few hours ago, so it's kind of.
This is where we come to share our secrets.
Right.
Congratulations, Dustin.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Let's see. So I wonder if Maddie Allen, the Hexican, who is a retired therapist but still staying active in our community as our
change the word from retired to financially free to pursue our purpose in life.
Because what I meant by retired earlier is, not like, quitting the trucking job, that's great. But I meant like being done with Hex, just like, oh, okay, taking my gains and moving on. That kind of rubs me the wrong way when I see people, even though I'm new Hexican, or I'm not by your standards yet, Dragon. I don't have a 5555, but
it's community standards. Actually, we voted on it inside the Hex Foodies Telegram chat.
It's not what I voted.
Sorry, you don't count.
I voted all the above, I think.
Well, then that means you voted for that as well as the getting rich thing. So I invite everybody to join Hex Telegram chat, Hex Foodies, and also see the pinned messages. We've got some polls there that are kind of fun to see if like people are moving around or what everybody's plan is. And we've got people from around the world as well.
What's the YouTube channel that you had that interview on, Dragon?
Sorry, what?
The YouTube channel that you have the interview on that Davin was showing earlier?
Hi.
Yeah, so that is on his Stephen Dragon Blake, and he's going to rename his channel.
I think it's Black, yeah.
Black, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Stephen Dragon Black. Okay, just making sure I found the right one.
He's got 41 subscribers, so let's get those subscribers up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I want to probably do I would like to do a weekly podcast where I'm doing kind of an interview like I did with Kevin, with other really interesting people, discuss, just kind of go into some details about some stuff like the t-shirt conversation I had. I would like to go into deeper discussion with on that. I'd love to have a talk with Wheels Only actually on some of that kind of stuff.
Hey, or mute yourself. Somebody mute yourself if you got background stuff. Go Hex Dragon. Say what you're saying.
I just think there's a lot of really exciting people to do interviews with, and I had a lot of fun with that interview, recognizing like how Bitcoin and Hex, old new paradigm, ways of using it, and then permaculture or regenerative agriculture and conventional agriculture, like we're shifting, and just it's nice to show all these parallels that we can shift to. But also something else I'd like to bring consciousness to is if you would want to buy expensive stuff, you don't have to sell your HEX. Offer to trade your HEX. Offer to pay in crypto first. Because when you pay in HEX for whatever you're paying for, you don't affect the price. It doesn't go up or down. And you just help onboard a new person potentially. So a much better way to purchase things is if you can purchase things in cryptocurrency instead of selling that for fiat.
What about the $30,000 pizza?
It's more expensive now.
Yep. But I mean, he would have sold it for $20 then anyway, which is now $30,000. So it doesn't matter. But what does matter is that we're getting away from fiat and using this currency. And when we use it, we actually make it more stable instead of always buying and selling it, that kind of thing. And when we buy and sell, we're supporting middlemen again, exchanges, banks, all that kind of stuff.
But the reason why I brought up Maddie Allen earlier, the therapist who has now the freedom to serve our community as he pleases. I wonder if he has sort of like stages already mapped out for these mental placements that we would arrive once we arrive at each one of these points of how finances change your life a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a bit more, and a bit more. I wonder if those are already sort of like mapped out to where people could have guidance.
Let's take a look. Sudden wealth. So I don't know if he did that, but I know that sudden wealth syndrome is not new. Who discovered it originally? I'm on Wikipedia right now.
And this weekend I went to a equinox celebration, and it was in downtown Austin-ish. It was on the other side of the river from me. I think it was on your side of the river, Hex Dragon. And I met a mutual friend of Hex Dragons, and so like our bubbles are kind of like already connecting or whatever.
Wait, which event was this? I'm sorry.
I went to the equinox event. It was on Saturday or Friday night.
Can you tell me who, or type in who if you don't want to say their name?
The guy's name is Scott, and sometimes you've gone over to his house to do.
Okay, yeah.
So I think
they got him into Hex too. I don't know if
he did. Yeah, we talked about it just a little bit. So he's been in town for about a year and a half. Him and his wife, they had lived together in multiple places, but one of the places was on the edge of the Ozarks. They lived in an intentional community for 2 years, and I just think that's awesome. His vision is with friends, and maybe you have something to do with this, but their idea is to have intentional communities outside of each large city in the United States to give people the opportunity to see other types of living, much more recycling of your resources and paying attention to that sort of thing. I mean, the stuff that we want people to focus in on here. Let's see. And then he told me that that he's a part of your land investment.
Yep.
What you're bringing opportunity to a lot of people, but it seems as though you're being the steward of this. You've, excuse me for saying this, like maybe taking custody of a certain amount of resources, and it's in your caretaking over it, right? Because he knew a little bit about Hex, but he knew basically nothing about pulsechain. But yet he says that he probably was invested in pulsechain. And so I explained to him what pulsechain is and what hex is, and that yes, I'm all for hex, and that if he would like to get more hex, then to go ahead and do it. He's wondering if he had missed out on investing more, you know. So if you want to speak on that or not, whatever.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I created a land trust. I do not believe in democratic ownership. The same way we did not democratically distribute hex to everybody. Consensus is old paradigm. It doesn't work. So I created a land trust which has basically regenerative values that any land that the land trust purchases will be used. 90% of it has to be used for regenerative agriculture, but you get to choose which third-party validator does that. So there is no consensus in there, so he's not wrong about that. But it's not centralized either. So they did donations, but they get to choose which land is purchased, and then they receive a 99-year lease on that land. So that prevents what we see a lot in communities is you get dictator owners. I'm actually on a property with a woman who's becoming a tyrant as she owns it, and she just will randomly kick off somebody. So people don't understand what happens to community leaders and how they can become tyrannical really easily. So the land trust is set up as a way to keep those leaders in check by not giving them all of these powers. So that's absolutely intentional. I don't just power corrupts. We know that. So this was a mechanism to prevent that from happening. So while and it's all going to be owned by a single organization, and there will eventually be a board of people who've proven themselves, but they don't. There's going to be removed powers for where you're residing, so that you can't abuse your powers. And I've seen many community leaders abuse their powers, even thinking they're doing it good. So it is more than a decade of research to help me come to the conclusions I have for this land trust specifically. But yeah, specifically with Scott, what I did was, with the land trust, the way we're using crypto is everybody donated to the land trust or gifted, and that was 100% invested into Pulse. So there is no value in that. I also didn't explain clearly what Pulse or Hex was intentionally, because there was a lot of stuff out there talking about scams and everything like that. And anybody who I did mention Pulse to, who wasn't familiar with crypto, freaked out because they're like, sacrifice, like this is a scam. So I chose not to disclose a lot of the information and to make the investment for the land trust without, again, consensus or anybody else's opinion. Because everybody who I did tell about Pulse, including Scott, actually, they did not invest on their own.
Can I ask you what the budget is for this project and what your vision or your goal is?
Yeah, sure.
Or the size?
So the way it's set up is that there's a pool of resources. And you can see on my website, there's a founders page, so you can see what everybody donated. So it's all transparent.
And what's the website?
Regencrypto.fund.
Regencrypto.fund. Okay, thanks.
It will be updated when Pulse launches, but you can see what the donations were. Now, the way it works is 90% or 10% of the fund will be available once a year for making purchases. So it will go on long into the future. And you, as a founder, you can click on the Founders tab at the top.
Founders.
So there is a pool of money that was donated for Pulse. And you basically get to choose individually or collectively what land is going to be purchased anywhere in the world. So the idea is to build one community a year at least. And any of these founders can choose to create all the agreements for that community, how it's going to work, what the requirements are for being a member, what type of decision making happens, all of that. So they have complete freedom to choose how they do that. But when they make those agreements, that's being shared with the land trust, and the land trust is there just to make sure, to verify that the founders keep those agreements with the community members.
That's great.
I've seen this guy's face on Twitter before.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. Yeah, he'll be at the. He's actually going to be one of the teachers for the workshop that's coming up.
Awesome.
And so the goal is to create a new community each year with the share from the Pulse.
Yes, so these are regenerative projects, and the goal is to have them globally as a network, so that we can freely travel. So each one will have like a landing strip, so we can actually fly from one community to another. So if stuff gets crazy in the world, we are showing an alternative way of doing that. And everybody is in Pulse, and many of them are in HEX. I recommended everybody get into HEX. Not everybody did, but and that's in large part what helped motivate me to become actually start getting clients, was that a lot of people weren't taking action unless I held their hand so much, and it was taking a lot of my time, that I decided to make a win-win agreement where I made this a career for helping to onboard people in a way that was mutually beneficial. So the commission I earned goes into the land trust.
So I'm sorry that Roland dropped out, but he was up in Missouri on some family property, him and his wife, and they were trying the homestead route, and they had a pig, they had chickens. They got kicked off of they left their family property because I'd rather him explain it, and I'm seeing that he's able to join, but his face isn't in the screen. So anyway, I know that he has experienced this sort of thing where he goes onto a property, he has big ideas, he starts his work, and after 2 years, things go sour, and he has to move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can I ask how large the piece of land is in Costa Rica you're hoping to obtain, or that you're getting?
Oh, I haven't even looked at a property specifically yet. It's to go down there to start looking at property. Actually, I have a series of places to travel around the world to look at different properties. But ideally, minimum 100 acres. So my intention of my ideal property size is about 5,000 acres. I've lived on a 5,000 acre property, Arcosanti, and that's a really good size. You can do a lot. You can do a lot of experimentation. But yeah, the biggest thing with this is we need to have multi-generational land security, because when we're planting food forests and stuff, like, it takes almost a decade for those things to get to the point where they're profitable, and they last for centuries. And you can't do that when you lease land. You can't do that when you're renting, and you can't do that without really good agreements, because I know more people who've been hurt and burned by the idea of community than who've been successful with it.
Wow, that's a terrible statistic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your Excellence pointed out that Maddie does often sudden wealth syndrome live streams that are worth watching.
I'm subscribed to his channel. I also recommend it.
Yeah, everybody subscribe to all the other Hexicans. That way the Hexicans can have an opportunity to show their talents.
Yeah, shout out to Yozo. She's going to be putting her kids to bed, but she'll come back and check out this stuff later.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Have you come any closer to deciding whether or not you're going to be in Vegas in March, Hex Dragon?
I want to. I really would like to come, and actually my intention is to come with restoration agriculture development. So bring out Mark Shepard and his team, so that more people can gain exposure to their service. Because if you have a lot of money and you want to live sustainably, but you don't know how, they're a perfect team to hire. They will set up your entire property, get the water automated. By automated, I mean like nature. It'll be automated for centuries without technology. So permanent water solutions, permanent food solutions. Really, really good stuff. So
And
yeah,
your last live stream, one of the things that I timestamped down at the bottom was you start with water. They start by analyzing the water, making sure that the water will flow well across your property. Water brings life, y'all. But keep talking about your Vegas.
yeah, I just haven't got my ticket yet. And honestly, I'm holding out, as probably many others are, for the my money's in Hex right now. So for me to buy a ticket, I have to sell Hex, and I don't want to do that yet. So 'cause the prices aren't based in Hex; they're based in dollars.
Hey, Roland, tell us about how you were on a Missouri property that's family related and that it didn't work out.
Well, I guess the biggest lesson there is, unless it's yours for sure, anything can be taken away from you. And, it's best friends or your closest family can still screw you over.
Yeah, not your keys, not your crypto, not your deed, not your land. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So we were there 7 years.
Wow.
And had a lot of fun, learned a lot of things, learned it the hard way. Life's not cheap out in the country. And, just a few disagreements and it was all down the drain. Back
Yikes.
in Texas, which I'm glad to be, but kind of, gonna start over. We're gonna get back to that lifestyle as soon as we can.
Yeah.
That's exactly such a common story. And if any of you all want to talk one-on-one or in a small group about this, whether it's just copying this idea and doing it with others or collaborating with me and the people who I'm helping with this, I'd be very happy to, because I do believe that land trusts are one of the more secure ways for us to do homesteading and things like that long term. Because also you can have what happened with my family. So we had a family farm. I talk about it a lot. It was my grandparents, and then the baby boomers decided to use the farm as payment and totally ignore the next generation, which was me and all my cousins. And I was like, a lot of people were really hurt and upset by that, because they gave away something that was property and was theirs to give away, but they didn't really consider the next generation. And that was where we had every family reunion. That's where that was our safe place to go whenever anything was wrong with family life, for example. All these memories were there, and they just gave it away like nothing. And really heartbreaking. So that is one of my major motivators, is I want to make something that will last for many generations. And even if I have kids and my kids are like, we don't want anything to do with this, they can't sell it. That's why it's in a trust for the community, not for them to sell as their property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I think it was the opposite. Like my wife and I came in, and my father, his wife, and all the in-laws, they were excited to have us there to build on the homestead and get another generation going. But some people are just, not easy to work with.
Will you go into more details about kind of where the conflict started, what happened, and kind of what power games maybe happened while you were there?
Well, yeah, my stepmom's father was never happy about us. He was more concerned about us moving into his childhood home, and he would rather have it, going to waste than having somebody in it for some reason. He's just really terrible old man, honestly.
That's hoarding mentality, which we see a lot with people who maybe were in the Great Depression and stuff, is they have to hoard things. And I lived on 2 properties Actually, every community I've been at has hoarders, and they will let everything go to waste rather than let people use it.
Yeah,
It's weird.
and that was the main problem. And so I would be making improvements, building things, bringing in more livestock, and these were things that we're all trying to hide from them. It's like, oh, I you know reinforced the shed, we better not tell the old man. It's just, it was weird. And so he would always come over there. He would just stop in and just bitch me out, call me a loser, call me a bum and everything. And so one day I just like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm gonna be here long after you're gone. And that was the wrong thing to say. Then from then on, he aimed all of his efforts to get me out of there. And he was putting a lot of pressure on his daughter, my stepmother, and she was tired of hearing it, you know and she just said, you know what, you need to get out of here. I'm tired of hearing this from my dad. um, and if this gets messy, your dad is not going to have anything to do with you. And that's where I drew the line, and I said, you know what, you're not going to dangle a relationship over my head like a carrot. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to tell you people that I'm done with you. Thanks for everything. And we left.
And that must have been hard. I feel for you.
But a neighbor across the street was a great teacher and homesteader and a great neighbor, watching property, sharing resources. They were able to split their livestock and bring it over to the neighbor. You talk about that guy. He was a Cajun, right?
Yeah, he was from Louisiana, and he moved up to Missouri around the same time we did, like 2013, I think. Um, just the best neighbor you can have. And we started out, planting and failing, and chickens getting slaughtered and everything. So, like I said, we learned the hard way. But finally, we teamed up with him. We got our garden together. We went in on goats and turkeys together, and uh, pigs and everything. And we moved our garden over there to his place because we were both doing it separately, and everybody was having their own battles. So we combined forces. It was the best thing we could ever do. And yeah, my wife just had so much love for that guy.
Mm.
He's a really good guy, and we're gonna miss him a lot. He had these 4 giant peach trees, and that's how we first got into our local market in Clinton, Missouri. There is we started bringing peaches up there to sell, and then we started selling our melons and our cantaloupes and our tomatoes and everything, and then we started canning. And it's good experience to have.
So the area was outside of Kansas City, down here in this Clinton, Missouri. So just north of this huge lake system.
Yeah, it really is a huge lake.
Yeah.
Truman.
So this was the farmland that he had he was on for 7 years.
And they rented it out to a cowboy, so there was ponds and stuff, but there were cows everywhere. So our little slice was kind of just around the house, in the garden area and stuff.
Fascinating. I'm really grateful that you had all that experience that you can take with you. I mean, even though you left the land, I think where else are you going to get that experience other than just like doing it? And not only experience with the land, but the experience with people. So I'm thank you for sharing that very much. I'm going to bounce, take care of people things, but I did have a question for Roland. I'm going to be listening on my phone. What would you do going forward with what you learned with people and land? What would you do going forward with the lessons you've learned? And I'll take my answer off the air. So you guys have a great day. It was great talking to all of you. Hex Dragon, I'm going to try to book some time with you and talk offline. And of course, Davin,
Hey,
the house isn't the same without you. You got to come back and visit.
cool.
So we'll see you guys later. Thanks again.
All right.
I had your vision.
But
So yeah, go Roland.
so I think the best thing that I learned, not just the experience in raising animals or growing food, would be like the family side. It's like so much better with a community, you know, like join forces, find like-minded people, and do it together, you know, with people. Because if it's yours and theirs, then somebody can get screwed over. And if everybody shares the same vision and puts in the same work, then that just makes things easier, you know?
Yeah, and then there's more eyes on the project to make sure something doesn't go wrong.
It's important to have space where yes, creating a solid vision for people to come around, super important. Also, having spaces for people to do their own thing as like their own. So like I'm promoting, for example, CoastaRica. It's not a super advanced or futuristic model of community, which I'm very interested in. It's more something that's very tangible, which would be most of the land is going to be in for agriculture, and you can choose to work that land if you want. No obligation. You will earn an income for doing so as if it was a job, but it's all going to be done regeneratively. And then there'll be properties that people could either own or rent. That was, if you have a job, you want to work that, but you want to live there, and then you have access to the food, that's great, and you can buy it. So you can use crypto, you can use cash to do this stuff, and having training centers for learning how to do regeneration, how to do permaculture, how to homestead, whatever your nouns are, and also where to discover different community models. So I imagine if we have enough of us with enough money going in, is if we could actually buy a large piece of land and have 2 to 4 communities on it that are doing things a little differently, that have different focuses and stuff, but we get to see what they're doing from each other and learn from each other. That's really what it's about. Is we all can easily come together around some things we agree with, but there's gonna be certain things that are just really challenging, and to be able to provide the right tools for dealing with conflict, and also the space to make iterations, like realize like, oh, I thought this was the perfect model, and then I lived it and it sucked. Because some people love the idea of consensus until you realize that consensus just is how do you put it? It's like it's a different form of tyranny when you start living it, because what happens is if you're 100% consensus, it takes one person to say no to any idea, and they can just make your life hell. But also what happens is, as the visionary, you're now incorporating everybody else's vision into yours to the point that it's so watered down, you're no longer passionate about it. So people lose a lot of passion. Burnout is super high with consensus. You spend so much time in meetings not doing anything. So I like teal models. And I mentioned Ken Wilber earlier. He talks about levels of consciousness. Really important to understand. I recommend the book Reinventing Organizations to understand what new paradigm organizations are that I am talking about. To work with me, you have to read that book. No exceptions. Because it's so important to understand how we can live so much better, how we can organize so much better in the world. So yeah.
Awesome. I will definitely put that in the timestamps for this video. I've been doing timestamps for all the videos. We are Hex Foodies on YouTube. We're Hex Foodies on Facebook. we're live on Facebook right now. We are Hex Foodies in Telegram chat. Come out and add your flavor, and we're here to have a good time. So let's go ahead and wrap this up because it's been 1 hour 35 minutes. Do y'all have any closing statements?
Yeah, just reach out to me on Twitter if you want to chat. HexDragon5555. Yeah, I love talking about all this kind of stuff. Always looking for making new friends. If any of these ideas for land trust or personal development resonate with you, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, and thank you all. It was a really enjoyable conversation today.
Here's another great live stream. Roland?
Thanks. I was gonna compliment his land trust. It sounds like you have a sense of community kind of built into the culture there, and it's just, I think it's really gonna be a good thing for you.
Hey, and he's here on the edge of Austin. So we're all three of us are up and down I-35 corridor right now.
Cool.
Cool. So
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We'll sign off, and everyone come out to the chat at Telegram, Hex Foodies, and make sure that you subscribe to Richard's calls right here, because this is the guy who created the cryptocurrency that brought all three of us together. See you guys later.
Peace.
All right, later.
Bye now.